Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight I'm going to tell you about a civilization that I don't think you've ever heard of. If I told you that the Great Pyramids of Giza were in Ohio, you'd say, there he goes again, the crazy guy on TV. If I told you that possibly one of the greatest civilizations, as advanced as Egypt or Rome, was in St. Louis, I could offer you $1 million right now, and you'd feel pretty good to be like, I'm going to be a millionaire. In a half hour, I don't think you'll take that bet. Come on, a lot to do tonight. Hello, America. Tonight and the next 3 nights, I want you to DVR this program because there is a lot to do and there's a lot to learn. And we're finding it in a whole bunch of really old, dusty books. This is a Smithsonian report from 1885 that we're going to talk about tonight. This one's from 1882. History that has been completely lost or erased. Why would I spend an hour on a news network to share this with you? Because if we don't understand our past, we're never going to be able to understand our future. And there are people that use our past or erase our past for reasons. We've got to get to the bottom of it, and we have to see if there's any pattern that we can find, any pattern at all that will help us navigate the waters that are laying ahead of us. So let me start, instead of in history, let me start here with Nancy Pelosi today. She's now calling for an investigation into those who stand in opposition of the Ground Zero Mosque. Wait a minute, what? She wants to know how this opposition is being funded to make it a political issue. Watch.
There is no question that there is a concerted effort to make this a political issue by some. And I join those who have called for looking into how is this opposition to the mosque being funded.
Okay, so in this one story, you have religion and government coming together, I believe. For what? For power. And they're trying to tie in commerce. How can government and religion and commerce all come together? Is that something you should be concerned about? I mean, let's get beyond the surface. I mean, sure, the only way people could possibly be emotional and questioning the wisdom of building a mosque next to the site where radical Muslims killed thousands of innocent Americans would be if they were paid to care about it. Really? That doesn't make sense. And you know why? Because it isn't the truth. This isn't about the truth. Much of what's happening in America hasn't been about the truth in a long, long time. It's only been about politics. And when I say that, America, understand, I mean both the Republicans and the Democrats. It's what we're all sick of. It's why Barack Obama could win on the call for change. Because we wanted an honest conversation. We wanted real transparency. When did questions become bad or unreasonable to ask in this country? It's not reasonable to look into the beliefs of a particular group of people trying to build a mosque and dedicate it on the 10th anniversary of 9/11 at Ground Zero? That's not reasonable? It's not reasonable. You think it's more reasonable to look into the people who are questioning that than questioning and look into who's financing this very expensive mosque. How about this question? What are the beliefs of the imam behind it? What does the Cordoba Project mean? Do you know? Look up Cordoba, Spain, and Islam. What does the Cordoba Project mean in New York? Are there any connections to the spread of Sharia law with this particular organization? Those are reasonable questions. Americans are being pitted against each other for those who want power. We're being pitted against each other. And it's not for your purpose or my purpose. We can disagree on things, but those are reasonable questions. Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals, black and white, we can all come together and search for truth. But not unless we're asking honest questions. You have to really want the answer. Not the answer you're looking for, but really want the answer. And if we don't start looking for honest answers, look, you know how I feel about Barack Obama, but do you really not think that if it turns out that he's right, that he was pretending to be a Marxist to gather up all the Marxists in one place and then Get him out of the, whatever the story is. If it turns out that he is all of a sudden a magic genie and the economy is fixed, do you really think that I wouldn't recognize that? You must have a very low opinion of me, and I know many do. But I would be the first to happily say that I was wrong. Why? Because it'll be good for the country. Quite honestly, it would be good for me. You don't think I mean, I know everybody says, oh, Glenn Beck makes so much money. You don't think I'd make more if we were doing well as a country? Of course. We have to have these conversations, or we're never going to break out of the boxes that we are being placed in right now. Because we are. Democrats and Republicans, independents, whites, blacks, all of us being put in boxes. And we're only brought out for power. The next 3 days of this program, I want you to DVR it. I want to challenge you. I want you to learn history that you have not known, that you, quite honestly, I think you're going to be a little hacked off with, for several reasons. First, you're not going to believe me. Then you're going to say, well, hang on, as you do your own homework. Wait a minute, how come I don't know that? Then you're going to be upset at somebody else. You're going to watch this program. If I've done my homework and I've done it right, half of the audience is going to be upset at me at one part, and they'll be cheering for me in another part. They won't believe that I'm saying that, and you'll just switch places with people. That's because the truth shall set you free, but it's going to make you miserable first. Race relations and civil rights in America for the next 3 days. You will learn things that you didn't know. No matter which side of the aisle you happen to be on, you'll be hacked off in a few minutes of this program, I guarantee it. But I want you to remember a phrase, and it's this: no pain, no gain. I know you've heard it before. You have to push yourself physically, and it makes your muscles hurt. No pain, no gain. Why? Because as you're pushing, they tear your muscles, and then they grow back stronger than they were before. Clearly, I don't live by that motto in the physical sense, but I do in another sense. I push myself. I read things that, excuse my language, piss me off. I read things, and I actually seriously consider them. I try to prove them. I don't hire a bunch of yes people on my staff. I hire no people, but open-minded no people. Yes, believe it or not, I have liberals, and some of my best friends are liberals. But they're honest, and they challenge me. I like that. I want to know the truth. Our understanding of America has to be challenged. If we're going to get out of this, we have to challenge what we think we know. We have to push our understanding of America farther than it has ever gone before in order for it to grow, expand, and become stronger. At the end of your journey, you will either hate America or you will know why you love America. That should be your goal. My search for that, to expand my understanding, came from a couple of things. First of all, the first thing that I wondered was, how the heck did we get here? How did we get here? How is it that we're in a country that had all this great history, and now we're at each other's throats, we're broke? How did we get here? Second question, why are there so many people that are Americans that hate America? We can't both be right. Or can we? When you truly try to find answers to these questions, you're going to come across some things in America's past that won't exactly make you spontaneously erupt in singing Lee Greenwood songs. But you'll also be equally amazed at how it all came together, the brilliance and the power behind it. They're not mutually exclusive. It's the same story of America, just two sides of it, two different time periods, two different phases that come and go. But so many people don't know our history, and that's why it puts them into one of a few groups. First group is people who just love America, and they wave the flag and they shout USA, 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 but they don't really even know the history. They don't know why. They refuse to look at the, well, you don't know about America, but they refuse to look at the dark side of America. They just love it. There's nothing wrong with this innocent love of your country, except when it's in trouble. It's of no help. It's of no use. You have to know why you love it. Then there's another group of people that think America is just nothing but a greedy, evil empire. Now these people, they just hate it for for no reason. Not all of them. They just hate it. But do they know? Are they willing to look at the good side? You know that Frederick Douglass, he hated the Constitution. He thought the Constitution was a bad thing. He thought it enslaved people until he read it. Then he came out and he had to apologize. And he said, my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. That is honest questioning. Then I think there's a small percentage, I don't know, maybe it's growing, maybe 30% of people in America that just live here and they don't care. They could be in Sweden, they could be in Canada. They don't care. They're apathetic. They're clueless. Those people are trouble, because you got to believe in something. They'll just swing with the wind. I think the good news is there's a growing segment of people out there who are following me on a journey and following others on a journey, and they're learning. They're learning history. And they understand that America was not perfect and is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Do you feel it? You're coming out of your childlike love for America, and you're becoming an adult. You can recognize, yes, horrible things have happened in this country. But you can also recognize with a better understanding of the good things that happen. You realize that America had bad mistakes in its past, but it's still the best thing out there. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't in one of the first groups. I was in the last groups. Well, there's an important part of history. An important part of history that I hadn't really looked at. And it is the whole civil rights thing, because you think you know what it is. You think. You've heard the stories. I mean, you know, some guy signed a document on a certain date, and, you heard about the men who risked being publicly hanged or losing their homes and their families. They lost every dime they had. Then you've heard stories about slavery. Then you heard stories about the chance of freedom and Abraham Lincoln. History is a story of individuals all throughout time. All throughout time. But until you start to connect those stories and look for patterns, and the pattern is man's struggle to be free from an oppressor, whether it is Jews in Egypt, or the Americans against the British, or the African Americans against the slave owner. History is not a collection of dates and names. It is the story of who we are, who we were, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, how did America, the people we are now, arrive here? Well, I believe it was through divine providence. But I also believe it's through manifest destiny. If you think those two things are the same, they're not. Divine providence and manifest destiny. One is good, one is really, really evil. You see, I happen to believe in good and evil. I believe in God and Satan. You may not. You may just think good and bad. But if you do, will you go with me down this road for a second? Have you ever noticed that Satan never destroys things? He instead perverts them. He corrupts them. He corrupts the soul. Dare I say, fundamentally transforms things. He didn't go in. He could have. He could have gone in and tried to pulverize Adam and Eve, kill them. But he didn't. He didn't. No, he instead tricked them. He deceived them and allowed them to corrupt themselves. Manifest destiny is a perversion of divine providence. Let me show you. This is my theory we're working on in the next couple of days. Here's my theory. My theory is, when a man tries to live in accordance with nature's God and nature's law, as it's spelled out in the Declaration of Independence, and works for the betterment of man and the individual, that free you, God helps. However, when man seeks power and riches by using nature's God or nature's laws in conjunction with others seeking the same power and riches, God withdraws, and evil masquerades as good.